Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Lock-In. As you can see, we've upgraded our setup here. You can see behind me anyway. I've created a little image there.
Yeah.
That's me looking really tough and Dara looking really, really tough. And we're behind bars. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I've made absolutely no change to my setup. It's stuck in time. It's not going to change. I'm not going to mess around with my computer and try and figure out. I'm slightly alarmed looking at your screen, but I'll try.
What did you think when you saw this image first? The kind of us behind bars bandit style.
Yeah, I mean it's a very good image and very apt, and a little bit alarming how natural we look in that setting.
Yeah. Could you imagine we really were locked together as prison roomies?
Yeah, one of us would have killed the other one by now, I'm pretty sure.
Well, listen, let's start by just asking a very general poker question, which I guess people ask each other. And in fact, we would ask each other this any time normally. How are you running these days? How's the last few weeks been?
Last few weeks since lockdown in general have been really, really good. Last week hasn't been brilliant. I've started to side swing, which is probably the most annoying thing of all, where you just feel like you're playing for no reason. But yeah, overall it's been very good. Cashed the Irish Open at the weekend, which was cool because I'd satellited in as well. So doing huge volume basically. The kind of volume I used to do at the very start of my career, but haven't done for a long time. So yeah, it's all good. How about you?
Yeah, it's been going really well, to be honest. I posting sort of 3 out of 4 winning sessions, which I guess is like even the low variance schedule I'd normally go for would only be about half and half normally. So it does feel good, but I think more so you feel like the games are good. They just feel good to you when you're in them. So I think I think there is plenty of value around. And within one of our social chat groups, I remember you did that tweet where you talked about how good the games were, and then you jokingly came in and said, "Oh, I jinxed myself tonight. I only won $1,000 tonight." So
and even that turned out to be a jinx because I've been side swinging since then. I mean there was that incredible period at the start of the lockdown where even on nights I was running bad and I was checking my account balance at the end and finding I was still up, which is just ridiculous. That's not really supposed to happen for tournament poker players. We're supposed to actually have far more losing sessions than we have winning sessions. It's just the odd big winning session obviously makes up for it all. But yeah, I mean the games are still amazing. The numbers are amazing. Remains to be seen how long it can last. But I think this is pretty much the perfect storm for online poker because not only is there no live poker, but there's also no sports. So sports bettors traditionally have been, let's say, some of the softer money in poker. A lot of the sites back in the day, the reason why you want to be on those sites was they were essentially sports betting sites that had a poker wing to them. And the poker wing used to notably get very, very soft at night after the sports betting was done for the day. And the feeling was some of the sports bettors are coming in chasing their losses at the poker tables. So yeah, it's almost the perfect storm because people aren't able to bet on sports much anymore. So really good times for online poker.
Yeah, those sports bettors chasing their losses is a beautiful thing. How have you been running otherwise in the sense that a little bird told me you may have done your biggest run ever in the last day or two. Is that right?
My biggest run in the last few years, yeah. It's a function of a couple of things. Basically, when I'm doing my normal schedule, let's say a normal month for me looks like I'm at home for 3 weeks and I have my routine and I go out for my run, and I do one long run a week. But then I go on a live poker trip and that kind of disrupts everything. Even with the best will in the world, I try to run on trips, but it's not the same. I certainly don't get to do a long run.
Basically, then we eat chocolate cake, Dara,
we eat chocolate cake and drink lots of whiskey and do all that stuff. Yeah, so I always come and sometimes I get sick after a poker live trip as well. So it's kind of all the bad stuff. Even before our last trip, I hadn't traveled actually since I think was it November, our last stop before then. And I managed to somehow come out of our most recent trip completely unscathed in terms of I did actually keep running during that trip and I didn't get sick. So this is probably the longest I've had where I've just been training undisrupted. So yesterday I decided I'd go for the longest run I've gone for in a few years. and actually felt very strong at the end of it. Felt like I could have gone even further. So on that front, it's been very good.
Well, give our viewers a sense of that. Is that 40 miles? Is that
No,
roughly?
not quite 40 miles. It's 32 miles I did yesterday, which for those of you who think in kilometers is about 52 kilometers. And that's split up into three. Obviously, you can't go out and run for that long in one go with no water. So what I do is I come back every hour and a half just to drink some water and mess around on social media usually. And then go back out and do it again. So it's done in basically 3 batches with 2 breaks of 15 to 20 minutes in the middle.
So sort of like 3 15 or 17 Ks, with what, like 10 or 15 minute breaks in between?
Yeah, essentially. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And actually, yeah, getting going again after the breaks can actually be the toughest part, because sort of when you stop, your body thinks, "Oh, we're stopped now. We'll just start all the repairs." But forcing yourself to get going again is tough. And I did force myself out for a short run today before this. I just did 4 miles, and that was very, very difficult. But it's the recovery, which is the thing. You're kind of training yourself to recover fast from these traumatic events.
And back in the day, Dara, when you used to do the serious running, like the 100K plus stuff, what was the recovery time like after something like that? Like if you did do your biggest one in a while, and let's say back then it was maybe twice what you did yesterday, what sort of timeline are we talking? Is it a week to just recharge and get the body working again?
Well, the biggest ones back then were the races themselves. I never went super long in training. The longest I would go in training would be 40 miles. And actually the way we used to do it was I would do 40 miles usually on a Saturday morning. And then on Saturday evening, I would do another 30 miles. So that was really sort of minimizing the amount of recovery time. So you just basically had the day to recover, but you forced yourself to go out and run in the evening. Because a lot of it was because I ran the really long races, and really the most important skill was being able to sort of keep going when you were already very, very tired. And that was the best way to sort of reproduce that in training. Having done your longest run of the week in the morning, forcing yourself to go out and do another long run in the evening. But the races themselves, the races typically took, it generally wasn't a full week, at least, well, I guess to fully recover it was at least a week. But I mean, I remember even after my most traumatic race, the first 24-hour race I ran in Canada, where I ended up in hospital for 24 hours afterwards, lost all my toenails, feet completely swollen, had to fly back the following day. Even then, from what I remember, the race was on a Saturday, and I went out for my first recovery run the following Tuesday or Wednesday.
You have a funny story. Well, it's not actually that funny, but I find it funny. From that recovery time in the hospital in Canada, wasn't that the time you sort of passed out and woke up and people were arguing about, they were taking bets on how you were going to die?
Yeah, basically it was quite a surreal experience, because the race was run in Canada in summer, which, I mean, we think of Canada as quite a cold country, but in summer it gets very, very warm. So it was run in about, I'm going to say 35 degrees Celsius, and very high humidity as well. Actually, the humidity was the real killer. So we ran for 24 hours around a small town in Quebec, French Canada, called Drummondville. And it was done in laps. Each lap was, I think, about 2 kilometers. And at the end of the 24 hours, the hooter stopped. The hooter sounded, and you had to stop wherever you were, and they came out and measured your partial lap to give you your final distance. So as luck would have it, I was literally halfway through a lap when the hooter sounded. So I sat down on the road and waited for them to come. Now, the way they do it is they come out from both sides to measure the people who are nearest. So the people who are nearest the end and the people who are nearest the beginning get measured first. When I was, given that I was halfway around the lap, I was literally the last person to get measured. So it took them about an hour to get to me to measure the...
An hour?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there in the sun, and I had deliberately not drank any water for the last hour because the thinking is...
it's just extra weight, isn't it?
It's just extra weight, exactly. Your body doesn't really absorb it. So you kind of empty the tank in the sense that you just completely deplete your water resources as well. So I'm sitting there in the heat, completely dehydrated. They eventually came and measured me. And then I started to walk back through towards the start of the race. And then the next thing I remember is waking up in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. And then I passed out again. And I woke up during the night in this French-Canadian hospital. And I remember clearly there were two doctors either side of me. And they were talking in French. And one was clearly a cardiologist. And the other guy was some sort of other doctor. And the cardiologist was saying, like, he's going to die of cardiac arrest. His heart is just abnormally big. And he's basically going to go into cardiac arrest. And the other guy was saying, no, the kidneys are going to get him. His kidneys aren't working. So he's going to die of kidney failure. And because I understood what they were saying, I woke up, and I'd obviously, when you go into ultra running, you start to read up on all this stuff. And I had read up, and I found out that these sorts of symptoms were common after a race where it looks like you're dying, but you're not actually dying. It's just the body very quickly repairing itself. So I started arguing with them in French, saying, no, this is completely normal. I'll be fine, honestly. And they were like, no, you won't be fine. Your heart is fucked. Your kidneys are fucked. And I was like, no, honestly, I'll be fine. And then I just remember, I guess I went back to sleep, and I woke up the next morning, and the doctor came around and said, yeah, actually, you're right. You are fine now. You can leave if you want. You're going to have to leave in a wheelchair because you can't stand, but we are prepared to let you go if you want. So yeah, it was a surreal experience to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and hear two doctors arguing over how I was going to die.
Oh, well, on that happy note, we'll change tact here. I had to do a very weird thing over the last week. So it was Hunter's birthday, and like last year, my dad and my stepmom,
3 now, right?
Yeah, he turned 3, and last year we kind of managed to get a couple of people over, so we made a bit of a party. Also, he was 2 last year, so he was oblivious. This year, he sort of had the beginnings of awareness, like he really liked blowing out candles, and he knows when it's other people's birthdays, and the concept of a present is something he's aware of. But of course, I couldn't get him a present. You can't get anything at the moment. So I absolutely sucked out, and I hope this story gets retold maybe years from now, where I'm cast as a more heroic creature. But I was coming from the supermarket, and I thought to myself, okay, I'll do my, hand sanitizer, bring the produce home, kind of thing we're all doing once a week or whatever. And I'm leaving the supermarket, and there's a toy store in the complex, and it's obviously closed, but the guy who owns it is there, and he's locking up the shop, or he's opening the shop to lock it up again, or whatever he's doing. And I just said to him, I said, are you open? And he's like, no, I'm not allowed to be open. And I was like, but could I buy something? Like, you're just here. And he was like, I'm not really supposed to sell you anything. And I was like, oh, it's my son. I gave him the whole sub story. My son's birthday tomorrow. I'll be a hero if I have anything. And he's like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I'll just fucking anything. Like if you can't go into the shop, because most of his store was like packed in the doorway of the store, where he obviously opens the store and pulls all that stuff out to the front. So I just said, oh, look, anything that's for a 3-year-old there. So he got me this like tabletop sandpit, and Hunter opened that on his birthday. And yeah, basically I'm brilliant now. I'm the best dad ever. Managed to get a present for his son during the quarantine.
Did you rub it in Sharon's face?
Yeah, totally. I was like, that's daddy's present now. Mammy didn't get you. Mammy baked you a cake, but daddy got you the present. Remember that?
Yeah, it's the complete opposite. When our kids were growing up, like, I literally did none of that stuff, but Maria was always really good. She made sure that my name went on the card as well. Actually, I tended to get more credit, way more credit, not only than I deserved, but more credit than her in some cases.
Well, in fairness to Sharon, she made a gluten-free cake just for me, so I got to have some cake as well.
Nice.
So she gets some props for that.
Nice.
I meant to ask you the last day, and I think I started off by making reference to it, and I see it there over your left shoulder from my point of view. How is your next book coming along? That's obviously your last book, Poker Satellite Strategy.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I mean, or I should say Barry's working on it. I kind of did my last significant brain dump, I think. At least I keep saying this is my last brain dump, and then I keep picking in more stuff.
We're going to have to unpack brain dump here.
Yeah, it's just basically where I tell him all the stuff that I've figured out, and show him any sims I've run, and then he kind of translates that into a format that would make sense to the readers. So we've done this a few times, and then I've gone away. I'm actually playing mostly PKOs at the moment because they're by far the best tournaments online. So I am kind of figuring out more stuff as we go as well, but I kind of feel like I've probably reached close to the end of how good I'm going to get at PKOs at the moment. So hopefully there won't be too much more. But yeah, it's taking a lot more time. The thing is, I'm prioritizing play over absolutely everything else now. So I'm playing almost every day. So I don't even have that much time to put into the book or the other stuff that I do. Coaching, I'm still doing coaching because people are actually clamoring for coaching now because they're obviously looking for stuff to do in this time and to use their time productively, which is great. And I don't want to turn anybody away. So that's sort of like second on the priority list. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be probably June at the earliest before it comes out.
Okay. Now, well, these things, like the first time round, I suppose it did take longer than you thought that time too. And
yeah.
This is arguably something you had to do more research for, because you would have had a lot of the core material maybe done, because the satellites were obviously your specialty beforehand, where it's kind of KOs became your specialty in the last year.
Yeah, also a much bigger topic, it has to be said. Like satellites are almost solvable, at least the important stuff, the end-game stuff. There's just very similar situations, and the concepts are relatively easy to get across. Like I reckon you could probably write 1,000 books on PKOs and you still wouldn't be covering them comprehensively as we did satellites in that book, because there's just so much to them and the situations are also different. So the big task this time has been to try and take the big picture view and what's the really important stuff, what's the stuff that would give people the most value, learning quickly, and and take it from there. But this is very much sort of a first draft. We feel like with the satellite book, we sort of wrote the final word on satellites, but this is really just the first word, and there's a lot more to come. Probably not from us, but from other people, I would say, on PKOs in the future.
Sure, it's tough life being a content creator, isn't it, Dara? Jesus, there's so much work to do. I'm finding
well, you've been incredibly busy too, because I mean we're still putting out the normal show. We're doing this obviously as well. We put out a new video this week, and you've been very busy editing. We've actually recorded a lot of stuff ahead of time. So you've been doing all of that. Do you find that a useful distraction from the current situation, or does it just kind of add to your stress?
It's a good question, actually. I'll probably have to think about this one. I think it is definitely a distraction, and I guess anything that distracts you from going on the coronavirus websites and looking up death tolls and stuff is a good thing, because I do find myself compelled to find out the latest information, whether it's via news or these websites. I know it's kind of morbid, but I would rather know than not know. So yeah, I guess when 12 hours goes by and you've been busy enough that you haven't done something like that, that's a good thing, I suppose, for your mental health or your emotional state. And yeah, it has been busy. You're right. Obviously, we're right in the middle of putting out shows at the moment. So working similarly to the way we work in normal times, we're sort of a month on, a month off. So Dara and I would usually record for maybe 2-3 weeks, sort of get enough material there for 4 segments multiplied by 4 shows, something like that. And then that gives me time to edit them. Some stuff we might do right before the show goes out, but most of the time we have at least 2/3 of the show banked maybe a week or 2 ahead of time. And that allows us to, well, keep the quality up, I suppose, because there is quite a big edit on all of that stuff. And yeah, I imagine I'm going to be a bit more free in the times where originally scheduled we don't have shows. Now we're going to put on this lock-in every fortnight now, we've decided, for, well, as long as this sort of way of life continues. And then the Jamie Kerstetter video, which is getting very good feedback, went out this week as well. And we had to train in Sharon. My Mrs. Sharon has taken over from our fabulous animator and artwork man, Willie, who has been an amazing servant of this show in so many ways for 5 years. Like at the very beginning, when I think back to our very first season when we were working for free, Willie absolutely worked for free too, making us posters and stuff back in the day. He really loved the show and loved what we were trying to do. And it was great that Unibet were able to take him on as our kind of animator artwork guy. As soon as they started sponsoring the show, they were keen to have him as part of the team too. And it's going to be weird actually without him as somebody to bounce ideas off and whatnot going forward. And we're lucky to have Sharon who can fill those boots though, I suppose, too.
Yeah, it's certainly very sad to see Willie go. I mean, I know he's very busy with his other stuff now as well. So, I mean, Willie's poker career, you know, in the poker industry has taken off, and it's been great to see, because Willie was the original enthusiast who just really got enthusiastically behind the show, did everything he could to help us in the early days, and ended up coming on board. And what he's done on the strategy videos is remarkable. I mean, the replayer is just brilliant. It really adds life, and it's noticeable how much better the videos do. And I think Willie's creation there is a big part of it, and that's obviously going to live on. I know he's handed over the reins to Sharon, and the intention is to keep the sort of same look as the patented Willie look. So that's been very good. But yeah, it's I guess it's tricky for both of us, because we have to sort of juggle all the other stuff that we're doing around the chip race with also trying to play more online at the moment. It's actually kind of weird, but like most people, I think are struggling how to fill their time, and we kind of have the opposite problem. This is probably our busiest period ever. It's got to the stage again where I'm actually dreaming about poker, and I realized the other day as well too that the way my brain processes poker has changed. When I'm playing online now, when I have a pre-flop decision, I'm actually seeing the grid in my head of my range and my opponent's range. And and it's almost like I'm looking at it going, yeah, this is the box I'm in. This is my hand. This is sometimes a 3-bet, sometimes a call, or whatever it might be. And then when you get to post-flop, I'm actually seeing PO solutions. I can almost like imagine myself, okay, he's raised, so now what do I do over here in the grid? So I'm seeing everything in grids at the moment, which is kind of...
I had it in my mind it was going to be like some sort of sexy dream. You kind of wake up in a puddle having won a tournament in your brain.
No, that stuff. It's all the really mundane stuff. And I'm not even saying that the PO sims in my brain or the grids are correct. They're almost certainly not, but that's the way my brain is processing now and visualizing stuff. I'm wondering if this is going to translate when I go back to playing live, or I'm just going to be looking at people's faces and I won't see anything other than just the grid of their opening range.
Well, I don't know if this is a testament to the fact that how my brain is working at the moment, but I have dreamt about filling in the form to send to Leo of private tournaments that people want. Home games, €5 game, give them a 10K stack, 10-minute clock, passwords. Yeah. I swear to God, I've done so many of them, I'm losing my mind. And I actually think, unfortunately, never a good deed went unpunished. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the people out there now believe that I'm just the most useful member of Unibet Support, because they've got a hotline to me at weird off-peak hours where I might check my Twitter, because I am on Twitter a lot. And now they're going to come to me going, oh, hey, I have to give my identification and a utility bill. Can you help me with that? I'm like, no, leave me alone. There's a whole section for that. I don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I get that too. I mean, people do just kind of hit you up because they can't get to support or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I've gotten good at just like, I don't know. I know nothing about that stuff. Sorry, that's my not my area at all.
Well, listen, we'll finish up with one final thing, because we have to pay the bills, obviously keep the lights on here. Unibet have got an online series, which I think they haven't announced yet, but I'm definitely going to leak, because that's what I'm for really. Unibet Online Series has in the past been a 2-week affair with 6 tournaments a day, nano, sort of low and high buy-ins, and then leaderboards connected to all those buy-in levels, and then an overall leaderboard, which I won the first time, all in the mix.
Glorious victory.
But
that was the time when you worked out that if you late regged every tournament, max late regged every tournament, you were almost certain to win, because they were giving points to half the field.
I did what you would have done had you just read the terms and conditions.
Sick exploit. I remember thinking, why is Lappin max late regging every tournament? And then I read through the points and I go, okay, he's mostly regging into the points.
A testament to how good that sort of cheat code is. You did the same thing for the next online series and came second in the overall leader.
Although it got tougher, because they did actually they closed the exploits slightly. I think you had to come top 30% or something before you got any points. I'm not even sure do you know what it's going to be for this series?
I don't know whether they're going to change it. So
that series you had to cash, right, to get any points from what I remember. It was top 15.
I think it was top 20% or it was top 50 and then became top 20. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure that will come out when they actually properly announce the thing. But what I do know is over 23 days, they're going to do 21 days of tournaments. So I think it's going to be similar to the way it's done before, but just like one extra week, 2 rest days kind of fitted in there so people can commit to it and like take a day off and see their family one night or whatever they might want to do. And then it's going to culminate with the Unibet Open Online, which obviously is our big 1K event that people have been satelliting into for the last month or so. And that's already just looking like it's going to explode guarantees. I guess that's sort of what's been happening. You saw the Irish Open last week go online and probably get bigger numbers than it would have got live. I think we're going to hit similar kind of numbers to what our normal stops would be. The moment they're guaranteeing 200K, Dara, I would not be surprised if this hit 300K.
Yeah, I think it's going to be big. There's a huge demand. There's a huge appetite now for online series. I mean, the World Series hasn't officially been cancelled yet, but very few of us think it's going to go ahead. Yeah. That's going to leave a huge hole in a lot of people's lives. It's actually going to be interesting to see, particularly in America, what the long-term effect is, because a lot of people get their sort of yearly fix of big poker, let's say, by a trip to WSOP. That won't happen this year. With people being locked in and in a lot of places not even able to play online, that's surely going to create much more pressure on legislators to sort out exactly how to get online poker back in the States, which again, if that happens and they're not ring fenced, that'll be another absolute boom for online poker.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One final thing, I noticed just before you came online here, you sent a tweet out saying that this is the new spin-off show where unfortunately you have to shower and shave and put on nice clothes before.
Yeah.
Congratulations on sort of presenting yourself to the wider
world. I can assure you that I'm dressed impeccably from top to bottom. It's not just the stuff you see from. I don't just have sweatpants on the bottom half of me. It's
a little look behind the curtain of the chip race reveals 2 people trouserless in their.
There's no way I'm standing up. That's for sure.
Great stuff. Well, listen, Dara, it's been great fun having the catch up with you, of course. And please leave some comments in the chat, guys. If you do like the show, let us know. If you hate the show, let us know. Tell us your favorite bits, and we will be back to do this again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, we were overwhelmed by positive comments last time. No, we really weren't. It was about 14%.
It was just enough.
It was just enough to give us encouragement, and
just enough.
we also said we wouldn't be back if the numbers were bad, and. Well, last I checked, there was about 350 people watched the first episode.
The quality of those people, you people who are probably watching again.
Just think about it, like our average podcast episode gets 15 to 20,000 now because people can't see our ugly faces and they get to listen to other people other than us.
Do you think it's been a disaster that we've pulled behind the curtain now? People have realised it's 2 trouserless men in their box rooms.
Yeah, also I think we both benefit very heavily from being edited, and this is completely unedited. So people are like, this is just 2 rambling fools. How do they actually make the chip race? There must be somebody else in there. There's just going to be all these conspiracy theories about now how there's really like a Wizard of Oz type figure behind who's working out all that stuff. Yeah, but I mean, it's just as, I mean, we're 2 weeks in. I feel by the end of this, like I might be so pissed off that I might be gone like full Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
We'll just have you in silhouettes.
Exactly.
Oh, I'd watch that one. So overweight Dara on the couch with a really extreme close-up in darkness. Yeah.
Well, you've already started to block out your surroundings. So, like, for all we know, you've killed Sharon and Hunter. You talk about what a great dad you are getting him his present. You probably hung the poor kid on his birthday. Very, very worried. Yeah. I'm at least not hiding anything behind me.
No, the room is a little untidier, but I just learned this little trick about backdrops the other day, so I thought I'd give it a go.
Don't look around like that, David, because the cheapo technology you're using, the blue screen effect is horrendous. Half your face disappeared there for a minute.
Oh dear. Well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the fans will like that. Okay, until next time, guys. Take care.
Yep. Stay safe. Stay home, and we'll all get through this somehow.
Bop, bop.